So Emiya is one of those servants that probably every single player has because he's on like literally every banner. He was an option for your tutorial free 4-star servant. He's been on like 18 billion tickets and he's like a fan favorite character, so I wouldn't be surprised if people that didn't have him picked him with their ticket. And he's really infamous for being that rags to riches type servant where he was really bad on release, but through many very good buffs, he's become one of the better servants in the entire game, and he actually has a future buff coming about 2 years down the line that's going to make him relevant even in the arts meta. But if you enjoy daily FGO content, consider giving your boy that like and subscribe. It helps me on the road to 10K. Again, I upload every single day. And hey, if you really want to go that extra mile and support the channel, you can click that join button and help your boy out even further. But with that being said, let's talk about our boy Emiya. Now, looking at his deck, it doesn't look all that impressive. And if you look at his deck, you're probably going to be like, why does this Buster Servant have a triple arts deck? What are they doing? And that is because back in the day, Emiya's third skill only buffed his arts cards. So the idea is that he would gen his NP very easily and then boom, hit him with the really big Buster NP and like just destroy everybody. And needless to say, it didn't really work out all that well. So Emiya's deck is relatively fine, I'll say. You don't really care about his quick card being weak because his NP is what's going to be dropping all the stars, so who cares about his quick card? His triple arts cards make it really easy for him to gen his NP and have him get very good synergy in the arts meta, and it gives him good synergy with people like Merlin, like the support casters. But unfortunately, it does not allow him to Buster Brave Chain, which being a Buster servant does kind of hurt him, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. Because again, they did rectify probably that as like the only lasting issue that Emiya was still facing. Then they also gave him a 5-hit extra attack, so I mean that's going to help him out indefinitely. But suffice to say, his deck is very weird. But at least they gave him the 5 hits on the extra, right? At least that's a constant. Now his first skill, unironically the only thing they haven't buffed yet. And out of like all of the archers, I get what they're going for. You have the Eye of the Mind false, which is the evasion and the crit damage, and then the true one gives you defense. But Emiya really could have used that extra crit damage, man. That would have been really nice for him, but again, they do rectify that later because they gave him the weird Eye of the Mind. And they're like, oh, I guess we'll have to fix that with his second skill. But regardless, this is very solid. It's a good defensive skill at the very least because it is giving him 1 turn of evasion, so it's giving him some measure of survivability. And he's getting 18% defense, which again, I talk about defense being good because you can get up to a 100% value and take 0 damage, but it just really irks me that it's 18%. Like, please buff this skill just to put it at 20%, because something about Emiya getting up to 98% defense just doesn't sit right with me if you're doing the tanky builds. But you're probably not going to get that much defense use out of this, right? Like, you're probably not going to be relying on tanky, thick Emiya to get you through things. You're probably just going to use it for the evasion. Now we have his second skill, and this is where we actually start getting into Emiya's bread and butter. See, his second skill gives him a massive 100% crit star generation rate for 3 turns. Now, why that's a big deal is because Emiya's NP has 10 hits on it. And if you remember, while Buster cards don't have the same value for getting crit stars as, say, quick cards, they still have that value. So if you buff that value a lot, you get a lot of crit stars being dropped. And so that makes Emiya's NP a huge star bomb whenever he uses it. And he also gets 100% critical damage for 3 turns as well. So not only can he drop a metric butt ton of stars, but he also gets massive crit damage on top of that. And because he's an archer, he doesn't even need a crit star absorption skill because naturally, because of his archer class, he's going to absorb those stars to himself just naturally, right? He doesn't need the skill. And just to put it into perspective for some of you guys that may not know like why 100% crit damage is so good, for reference, Waver gives 50% crit damage with his first skill. Merlin gives 100% crit damage for 1 turn on his third skill. Emiya is getting 100% crit damage for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown, meaning half the time you're going to be blowing people up. The skill is very good, to say the least. Now, there's his third skill, which, yes, we're going to talk about his buff on JP as well. So right now on NA, It's basically just Emiya wants to do everything. He buffs quick arts and buster cards by 40% for 1 turn, all on a 5-turn cooldown. So once every 5 turns, you can do really big boy damage. But this still left Emiya with the issue that, well, he's a buster servant with a mishmash deck. So what did DW do? They decided, well, we're just going to give him the option just for that turn as well, that he can swap his NP from arts to buster, basically making Emiya a really good arts looping servant because he has 10 hits on a arts NP now, meaning he can gen his NP very easily, especially with the help of someone like Castoria. Now, because it is only 1 turn, you're only going to get to do like 1 big loop with the NP, but that makes Emiya very good for like 2 node fights or for picking up the slack and say arts looping on node 2 and then using his buster NP for more damage on node 3, or swapping to the buster NP to then be able to drop even more stars than before. I wanted to mention that because I know that's some issue that people do still have with Emiya because of his mishmash deck, and well, 2 years down the line, they're going to fix that. Then there's the NP we were talking about, and basically it's nothing super impressive aside from its massive amount of hits. It does nerf the enemy's attack by 10 to 30%, which is fine, like it's cool and all, and it pierces defense, although we don't really encounter a lot of bosses that have like super mega ultimate amounts of defense, but there are challenge quests here and there where they do give massive amounts of defense, and by challenge quests I mean like Gilfest type challenge quests, like the actual super difficult, you're going to get your butt cheeks split open types of challenge quests. So he's very good in stuff like that, but really aside from that, you're just going to use it to loop your NP if you swap to arts, or you're going to use it as a crit star bomb as a buster NP. And overall, I say Emiya is very good. And fortunately for a lot of players, most everybody has Emiya. He's like that tried and true servant that everybody's got sitting in their Chaldea, and you should definitely level him up if you do have him. It's a bit weirder for me to make a video on him because it's not like he's a new 4-star or like a rarer 4-star per se, because he's been around since the beginning, but I don't think people really realize how good Emiya is, that he is like a premium, very solid servant that they should level up and be using, especially if you have your Emiya at like NP3 and higher. The only thing he's really lacking is a battery, and God forbid they buff his first skill and give it like a 30 or even like a 20% battery, or they give him like 20 to 30% NP gen. Even for 1 turn, it's just going to be absolutely insane. But let me know what you guys think about Emiya down in the comments down below. I'm sure it's going to be very mixed reviews of people being like, I've had this guy since day 1, never touched him, I hate getting spooked by him, and then there's going to be the other people that are like, he is the best mom in my Chaldea and he always comes to the rescue when I need him. So love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments down below. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace. Late, guys.